Hi, I am Shruti. Since long we were talking about different HTML elements, attributes, and marking up content. And in this video, we are going to talk about how to structure your website or a HTML document.
So this is our HTML structure. This is how we structure our HTML file. The first line is doc type HTML. This is a tag which doesn't have a closing. It just says that it is a doc type and exclamation mark before that. The doc type declaration is used to declare which era this HTML file is from. Because we had the older versions of HTML as well. So this doc type actually declares that we are using the latest version of HTML. There were other doc type declaration in the past for older version of HTML. So that is why we use this. Then we have the HTML tag which has a closing tag. This HTML takes in the attribute lang, that is language, which takes in the language in which we are actually writing the content for. Then after this we had head tag, which is also having the closing. Inside the HTML there are two main things that we use. The first one is head and the second one is body. The head tag takes in meta, title, links, script, styles, and a lot more. So, what does meta means? The meta element is only used inside the head and it conveys the metadata about the page. This Carset UTF-8, this means that it's a library of all the symbols, all the characters that are available to use in HTML. So we give this library and we use these things in our body that actually browser knows about that. Then we have metadata, which is a compatibility, which tells that it's compatible for all the browsers. Then we have viewport. This what actually does that when we take the swap to mobile devices, then this width would be equals to device minus width, and this is what it's saying that the initial scale will be 1.0, and this is how we are explaining the content here, that this viewport will be same when we see it in the browser, in the desktop, and in the mobile as well. Then we have title. The title is what comes here. You can see this says structure. If I change something, like if I take an HTML structure, I'll save this. You can see this title got changed. Here we have a favicon as well. This is our circle. This is a globe right here. What if we want to change that and we want something like a favicon there? So we can just write here the link tag and we can link to whatever we want. We can link to a CSS file that we learned in CSS. We can link to the favicon that we are going to do now. So if I click on favicon, and let's give the href. So I have the favicon, I have the image um, slash images folder, and let's take image 2, maybe, yeah. And you can see the favicon right here. So this is how you add the shortcut icon. This is the rel. The link takes in two attributes. The first is rel attribute. Rel is attribute tells the browser what kind of asset it is. Then we have href attribute, which actually takes in the link, which provides the URL to that particular asset. Also, we have the type of the image, like it's an image or it's a GIF or it's something like that. Also, there are a lot of meta tags, like you can add the description, you can add whatever you want, whatever content you want the browser to know. So basically the conclusion is the head is actually used. This is something that you don't want users to see but browser to know. Right. And the body is just the opposite. The body is that you want the users to see that. Like I have written the hello here, so it is showing right here. So the user can see that. So whatever you write in the body, it displays to the user. Inside the head, you also have link to the CSS, favicon, or you can add the preloader, and sort the head tag content according to most important at the top and less important at the bottom. Because this HTML document is read from top to bottom, so most of the important links should be at the top and less important to be at the bottom. So you can just link whatever you want right here. Let's come to the body now. The other important elements in the body are few. I can let you know. So the first is you can add a header. Okay, you can add a header. Make sure you see the difference between head and header. Header is used to wrap headers in the content, and head is part of our HTML document that's never displayed to the user. Okay, so make sure you have the difference. The header and footer element are used to mark the places on the page where the content is at the top and at the bottom. So we have the header and we have the footer as well. Okay, so these both are used for that. In the header, I can write this is the header. In the footer, I can say this is the footer. So this is how you actually manage the content from header and footer. Now, what's between header and footer? There is a main element between header and footer. You say it a main element or a main tag. This main element wraps around the main content of the page. Okay, so I'll say this is the main content of the page. And what's inside this main content? Inside this main content, we have all the content which can be included in there, and also we have few more elements to be added inside the main if you want to structure or format something, like format the content. Like if you want some content to be the main attraction, if you want some content to be at the side of that. So here you can use three more elements for the content. Like, so you have the article. The article is it's wrapped around any instance of an article. If you are writing something, that it wraps around that. Also we have section. So I can just say this is the article, this is the article. All right, and after this, inside the main, you have one more thing, that is section. You use this section when you want a section to be like it wraps around the sections of the content, like different sections you are having. So you can just use this tag and make sure that you have this. So I can just say this is a section. All right. Then one more tag you have. Suppose if you want something to be a side and not at the main attraction of the user, then you can just write a side tag. And this side takes in, it is used to mark content that is off to the side or not the main attraction. So I can say this is a side. All right. And this is a side. So that's how you actually structure the content. Inside this header, you can add div, you can add the nav bar, you can add the menu bar, and show that inside the main you can add h1, p, div, span, and whatever. Inside the footer, you can also add the div, spans, and some generic elements that you have learned about. And all that elements that you have learned about, you can use inside these elements, and not like just started by the table and use that. That's not it happens. That's how you actually structure the elements. And inside the main, you have all the content except header and footer because they are different. So make sure that you use, so you just don't need to use div inside the body, all the divs. Instead of this header you use the div, instead of this main you used a div, instead of this footer you used a div. That's not how it works. Use div only when you don't have that particular element for that particular task in hand. Otherwise you have so many tags for different things. Like for header you have the header, so use that for that particular task you have in hand, because using divs and span all the times is a bad practice. So this is how you structure the content, this is how you create the header and body, and you have all these things in an HTML. And you will understand more about structuring the content when we'll actually build the project to show you that how you can create your own website with HTML and also with CSS. So that's it for this module of HTML. See you in the next one.